Hi. Okay. I'm here. I got my hair braided. I also had a Big Mac tonight, so judge me hard. Okay. Um Here's something that I want to say. I'm actually just going to read out this. It's not even a quote. It's a poem. But this is a little bit interesting and possibly a little bit different um than our normal vibe. So this is from today's Ann Coulter newsletter. She says it's my poem. First, they came for working class whites, and I said nothing. So, this is stemmed from an NYU Langone fires cancer researcher for anti Hamas tweets. So, here's the poem. First, they came for working class whites, and I did not speak out because I was not a working class white. Then they came for white police officers, and I did not speak out because I was not a white police officer. Then they came for white women who call the police, and I did not speak out because I was not a white woman who calls the police. Then they came for the white college applicants, and I did not speak out because I was not a white college applicant. Then they came for the statuses of white male American heroes, and I did not speak out because I was not a white male American hero. Then they came for whites applying for jobs with the S&P 100, and I did not speak out because I was not a white applying for a job with the S&P 100, and so on. And then she presents these photographs which you can look at yourself. So the first one is like um it says Forbes names NYU Langone a best employer for diversity. Then they have like a diversity leadership team. Um, then they're saying they fired a guy because he made public remarks about the Israel Hamas war. I think this is important to understand because I think black women to the front, black women to the front of the class, uh, because this is the community that I feel like some of you don't understand. Like, first they came for small black children in churches, right? They bombed the seven little black girls in Birmingham. They blew them the fuck up. And they rejoiced, right? And then they invested in Planned Parenthood and really really impacted the black birth rate until now it's like more abortions than births are happening each year in America. And then and then even the black males got on the train and they targeted your physical safety, right? We saw the woman get hit with the brick and everyone laughed and made these like videos about it. We saw Tory Lanez shoot Megan in the foot. We got a million rap songs about it, right? And even before that, I saw that Young or Cash Money, they put out the music video for a song called Project Chick. And I don't need to watch the video. Like I don't need to see it. What I know is that like that music video, that sort of language, that sort of sentiment, that why? Why? Like we already know what poverty looks like. We really do know what black poverty looks like. And we keep letting these like rappers and entertainers get away with it. Like a really good example here is like Diddy. So here's the thing, like Diddy's family members, his daughters go to, or they will, if they were in school, I don't know if they're still in school, but they were in like some private, elite, pretty white upper class school. Probably your kids aren't going to go there because they can't afford to go there. Where maybe like Kanye West kids go and like other kids from very very famous parents go there. Your kids don't go there though. But like, look at the media. Look where we just saw happened, and like, be serious. Like, how did you feel? I don't. I'm not gonna say like you and me. Like I'm in the same place or in a different place than you. I don't know your story. I don't know you. I don't know you. I know me though, and I know how I felt reading that article. I felt like reading the article that reading Cassie's perspective about her being like raped and abused, and watching Diddy settle that lawsuit, basically kind of pleading guilty that he did it, it says so much about that man's character. Imagine how his daughter, like, be serious. Imagine what conversations that he has to have with his children now. It has to be, they have to say something. He has to say, like, either like, oh, maybe I didn't really rape her, I didn't really treat her that way, or maybe they knew and just couldn't speak about it for whatever reason. Either way, I feel like everyone's kind of trying to put on a good face to keep going forward, but if you don't speak out when shit like this happens, the next thing we know, one of your favorite stars is going to turn up dead. And then nobody's going to speak about that either. It's already happened with the women who aren't stars. Remember in Mexico when we had that girl who went on vacation in Mexico, and then her best friend was there with her, watched her die, and then lied, came back and lied to her family, lied to the press, lied to everyone, and said, oh no, I don't know what happened, she's not really dead, I don't know. Then it turned out it was all a lie, and her life was lost. Her life was lost. Because her life, it wasn't serious, it was all a joke. Maybe it was like an Instagram joke post. Maybe that's the deal. Either way, it wasn't funny. When you don't speak out, when you actually see shit happening that's wrong, especially because you feel like you aren't impacted by the crisis. You aren't impacted. You don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Oh, it's not my group. You only speak out when it's your group. But one day, for like, what's that very famous quote? Like, first they come for me, then they come for her, then they come for you. Like, you're always next in line unless the problem is fixed. I actually made a video about this. It was something about thumbtacks, because someone said this to me, and I felt I was in this space, a mental space, kind of an emotional space in my life where I didn't really have empathy to give to other people, and I still kind of feel like that. Like, I'm not really in a place to give too much empathy to other people. But the point being, like, he was talking about thumbtacks. So he's saying, like, if you see a problem and you see a bunch of thumbtacks on the floor, don't just walk over them. Like, actually pick them up so that people behind you don't walk on the thumbtacks. I feel like I lived a lot of my life, and I approached a lot of my career in this way, where I was constantly picking up thumbtacks because all I saw was thumbtacks. And so the only way for me to move forward at all in my life ever has been to, like, pick up thumbtacks. Now, the problem with me picking up so many thumbtacks and solving so many problems that I never got to experience, like walking on paved cement where there were no thumbtacks. I haven't been able to walk with my shoes off yet, because all of the fruits of my labor seem to go to someone else. This is why I have to continue to talk about kind of like Yara Shahidi, and so now I feel like she's starting to branch out into her own story, which I just appreciate so much more. But like, kind of taking on my story for a while, which had nothing to do with her story, and I feel like it's actually becoming more and more apparent, like, kind of the extreme level of privilege that she personally experienced, and how that is very different from like a me, right? And I think that's a very important distinction to make, because as we're starting to see more and more examples of visible black people, and understanding that, kind of, unfortunately, like, the visible black people are the extremely privileged black people, but you need representatives from all groups. Like, you need middle class examples and lower class examples and all of the in between examples to also exist. And the problem is, like, they actually don't exist right now. There's no example at all. Like, what Sexy Red and Gorilla are talking about is like a very niche, like, low vibrational urban experience. Maybe those are like Project Chicks or something that are just, they've come out now and they have a tale to tell. A tale to tell. And okay, like, clearly there are people who relate, and there are people who need to hear that. But then there's also people who don't. Like, I don't want to hear that, and I don't want her to be a representative of my group. And like, there's definitely other examples of women who are telling stories that we should highlight. Which is another thing I think is, I mean, I feel like it's very useful for everyone to tell your story, but specifically as a woman and as a American woman, you know, as a black American woman, I really think it's important to kind of like different, Like, there's something different about your narrative, there's something different about my narrative, and simply like co-opting someone else's like story isn't really useful in relation to like what is going on in your own life and your own goals. And also, it's another reason I do think it's like very important to start to call out problematic behavior, especially in the Black community. I think it's now a really critical time for like Black women to speak up and say like this is acceptable or this is not acceptable, and create some boundaries around treatment. Because otherwise, uh, I think some of you guys don't actually see what's happening with like the youth, especially like young men. They don't have the same type, they don't have mothers and fathers who have these like stable relationships within society that are, you know, bound to community, and they don't have the same sort of connections, I want to say, with like colleagues or jobs that other people do. And so there isn't this feeling of like camaraderie within the country. And so the example that Ann Coulter gave here, where she's pointing out the Israeli um, professor who was fired over the anti Hamas tweets, that is a very difficult experience because I don't think the university was wrong. I also don't think the professor was wrong. I think the society is wrong. And the weird part about it is there's a lot of other people who are working at NYU or any other place right now who feel the same way that he felt. Um, they just, now you're going to silence them so that they can keep their jobs. Like, everyone can't be fired, and there's no like politically correct stance. There's not like a neutral stance. When you have like an oppressive situation like the one happening with Palestinians, I think what Andrew Tate here said is right. If you go listen to Andrew Tate, he had a conversation recently about Israel and Palestine and Hamas, right? Um, it makes sense why some people are saying that Hamas is necessary. Not that what Hamas, it's not saying that the actions that Hamas took were the right ones. It's saying that there needed to be almost like a bigger bully to bully Israel the way that Israel was bullying Palestine. And just at this moment, Hamas happens to be like just another bully. What they did was wrong, but now what America's doing by siding with Israel, who's not right, they're not on like the correct side of history. Nobody's really on the, there's not a correct side of history. So the really strange thing about all of these like politically correct actions in this case are illogical, because no matter what you do, you're going to be taking a side. If you say nothing, you're taking a side of an ignorant American. If you say that you're pro-Israel, you're taking a side of anti-Palestine. If you're taking a pro-Palestine stance, you're taking a stance that's anti-Israel. There's no stance that's like correct. Correct is this like fallacy that exists in your mind, but it is important to say nothing, to say something. This is the silence is violence conversation, and it is very strange to now actually hear that from conservatives, right? Because when you're talking about whatever values are, whatever values that you have, this is what's been very, very, very tricky about being, living, working in society with some of the like neoliberals. They feel that there's only one correct stance. Like, they've had the conversations amongst themselves, and they personally feel like they know what the right thing is, and they know what the wrong thing is, but there isn't really a one right and one wrong. Like, this isn't black and white. It's just not. It's just not at all. It is just all gray. It's just all like a gray area of like not really knowing where to go, how to move forward. Um, and I think that people who are pretending to have answers and pretending to have solutions and also pretending that everything is okay is wrong. Like, I feel like I was reading something else that was talking about the other newsletter. I think it was from yesterday, where Ann Coulter was like unpacking the model minority myth. Like, I saw that Zoe Unlimited, she said she's joining OnlyFans. It's like, okay. Then there was another like Asian doctor who, like, I guess had like made up a bunch of falsified records about Donald Trump's psychiatric state to side with the political party. Then there's like another Bitcoin Asian guy who had like stolen $3 billion or committed like Bitcoin fraud or something. It's like they're the stereotypes of like one group being all right or another group being all wrong are just so messed up. It's just so messed up because people are walking through the world pretending as though their hands are clean, that they are innocent and the other people are wrong, as though they know who the other people are. And I think it's very strange. And for right now, the most effective way that I found to move forward is to talk about the issues. Talking about the issues is helping me personally move forward. Because I know that at least the few people who are like tuning in each post to watch, they are aware that there's someone like me who is paying attention. Like, I am alive today and I see what's happening, and I also see a problem with it. And I'm choosing not to be silent about it. And don't get it twisted, because it is definitely problematic for a lot of people. Like, when I start talking, it does not make other people happy. Know that as fact. Anyway, that's all I have for today.